Hello, LA 590. For assignment 5, you'll probably want to get your pause play button warmed up. I think you'll need it. I'll try to stuff everything you need to know into 2 videos. And what I'm asking you to do is to create a self-playing KMZ tour in Google Earth. That's what you'll be uploading. There's lots of little steps we got to do to get there. So let's get started. Minimally, you'll need the Fargo footprint data, and this is in the 11, 10, 11 class exercise files. If you open up the zipped package, there's the Fargo footprints. For this example, I will also use the Fargo parcel data. So those 2 folders I'll just drag to my desktop. And then I will jump over to ArcMap. And I'll start by adding the footprint shapefile. So this is way too much information than what I'd like you to just import into Google Earth. I want you to select a certain part of town, and it has to be somewhat logical. It could either be a downtown area, a neighborhood, a campus, just something. And there's a few ways you can select this. You can take the select by features tool and just manually select. You can hold on shift to select additional shapefiles that are added to that selection. Let me clear that. So that's one way. You can select by attribute, which we've done a few times. I'll right click on that layer. Now, for example, I could select all of the garages and sheds in the Fargo-Moorhead area and do something with that. You can also select by location. There's two ways this is useful. You could create your own layer. For example, you could outline the Renaissance zone if you found a map of that and kind of knew about where to draw, and then select your shapefiles based off of that. Or you can select by location based off of another feature set, which I'll show you an example of using the parcel data. So if I add this, I'll change the color just so it's a little bit easier to see. And if we look at that attribute data, there's a lot more to work with. We've got the year it was built, the owner, the value, all kinds of really good stuff. Now there's one in here that I particularly like, and there's so many in here. Here's what I'll do. I'll right click on that layer. I'll go to properties, click on the fields tab. I'll turn everything off except for the neighborhood. So I'll hit apply and close this. So all of those attributes are still there, but in ArcMap, only the neighborhood one is visible. And very conveniently, one of these is called downtown. So I could do a select by attributes, and I'll say where neighborhood is equal to, I'll get unique name, downtown. So very conveniently, I've got a selection just showing me the parcels that are designated as downtown in Fargo. So with that selection, I can do a select by location. I could export it. That would just be extra steps. You'll see why here in a moment. But I'll click on select by location, and I want to select from my building footprints, which is what I initially imported, based off of the stacked parcels. And the spatial method, I'll just leave it as default, features that intersect. So if it's inside, if it intersects, if it all touches this selected area, it will be returned as a selection. Now, very important, I've got my use selected features option checked. So it's only going to run this against the parcels that I have selected with the attribute select. Go ahead and look through these different options. You may find some creative combination or creative method to use in order to select the footprints that you would like to show. So I'll just keep those settings, hit apply. Now if I turn this off and zoom in on my footprints, I can see that it has now selected the footprints which were enclosed or intersected parcels that are considered downtown. And I needed both of these layers to do that. So at this point, I will export this data. I'll right click on my building footprints, go to data, and export data. So I'll click here. I'll go ahead and create a new folder and just call this DT Fargo. Call it the same name, make sure I'm inside of that folder, and hit save and hit OK. Do I want to add these? Sure. So if I turn off those other layers, I can see I've got a very nice little collection of just downtown buildings. If I look at my attributes, I can still see that it's got all of the same attribute data, just for a smaller set of features. Now, this is, again, probably more than what I really care to work with. So within ArcMap, I can hide certain layers by going to that layer's properties, make sure you have fields selected, turn them all off, and I'll just do Z value, height, and type for now. And again, this is all just an example. You don't need to do these exact steps, but hopefully you'll get some ideas from going through this exercise. Now if I go back to the attribute table, I've only got those 3 attributes. There's a very important reason to do this, as you'll see in the next few steps, so just make a mental note. I will come back and explain what that important step is. Before though, let's organize the height field by ascending, and we can see a problem. A lot of these have a height of 0, which if I selected those rows and see what they are, I can see it looks like Merit Care, the Civic Center, just for whatever reason, that attribute data never got entered. The Z value corresponds to a sea level elevation of the first floor. The height is the sea level elevation of the top of the building. And we could go into an edit mode by right-clicking, edit features. I'm not going to do this, but if I were to click start editing, I could manually type these in. I'll show you another workaround. It's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. And what we're shooting for is more of a visual representation, not a purely analytical one. So to get a value or an attribute that is a more accurate height, we need to subtract the height from the Z value. So what I'll do is click on the table options and add a field, and we'll call this true height. The type will be floating, which is a number type that includes decimal points, and hit OK. So that just creates the field. You know what? And I don't want any of these selected, so what I'll do is click on my clear selected features button right here. All right. Now, if I right click on that attribute that I just created, go to field calculator, and we want this to be height minus Z value. Hit OK. It'll think for a moment. Most of these will be close, but as we'll see here, many of them will be very incorrect. Let's organize that true height field by ascending. So many of these are minus 900, which isn't a very useful height. So again, we could go into an edit mode and manually enter these. If I just were to click on one row here, or I'm sorry, double click right there, your map view will zoom in. Let's see, where is that? So if we happen to know what that was, you know, we could give it a height and do that for each one that needs height. But again, we'll just do a quick workaround. So what I'll do is I'll click on the left most little box here, hold down shift, and I'll go all the way down to, you know, probably everything below 10 feet. So I'll hold down shift, hit click. Those are selected. Now I will go back to my field calculator, and this time, you know what, I'm just going to say equals 20. It's not the most accurate thing, but it's better than minus 900. Now, another problem here, I guess, that I'm just kind of seeing is a lot of these are garages and sheds, which probably aren't, at least for this example, going to be very useful. So let's just get rid of those. What I'll do is select by attributes, and I'll say if type is equal to garage or shed. Oh, I didn't quite double click. There we go. Hit apply. So that gets all of my garages and sheds. Let's zoom out, kind of focus in on this area. Now I can't just delete those, but what I could do is start an edit mode by right-clicking on that feature, go to edit features and start editing. If I click here, I can make sure that I'm actually in an edit mode. Oh, whoops, and I just deselected by clicking in my workspace here. So let me go back to my attribute table. That should still be entered in my, no, it's not. Okay, no problem. Height equals, I'm sorry, type equals garage shed, apply. Let's see what happens if I hit delete. All right, they went away, very nice. Now again, this is destructive to that data that we've created, but garages and sheds, who needs them? So at this point, this DT Fargo, I could try to import it directly into Google Earth. That is just a shapefile. So this, what I've been doing in ArcMap has actually been creating that shapefile and all of its necessary folders and related files. So this won't work, but let me show you what happens if you try. If I drag this, I got to put it on my Mac side here because that's what Google Earth is running in. And I'll try and import. Can't see it because it's off of the screen. I'll navigate to that shapefile that I created. Because it's in that non-standard Fargo ground coordinate system, it just won't work. And in fact, don't even try this because it will probably crash Google Earth. So if you do try it, just do whatever you need to do to force quit it. Go back to ArcMap. And, oh, and you know what? I forgot to stop my edit session, which is pretty important. So I'll go back to my editor, and I accidentally just closed it. Click on this drop down and stop editing. Do I want to save my edits? Yes, I do. Now, that's not the reason it didn't work in Google Earth. Just know that the main reason it didn't work is because this source is in this very non-standard Fargo ground coordinate system. So this is where I'll end the first video. If you can at least get your area selected, it'll be a very big first step for this assignment. So here's where we'll pick up in the next video.